Hello, my name is Michelle, and today I'm going to be sorting Pride and Prejudice characters into their Hogwarts houses. Now this is something I've been so excited about because I love Pride and Prejudice, and I think there are so many great characters in there, and you can just see the Gryffindor, Slytherin, Hufflepuff, and Ravenclaw in many of them, but some of them are pretty hard. So, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, I'm going to be drawing a name. I'm not doing every single character because that would be a lot, but I'm going to do all of the main ones, and then a few of the minor ones, or just as many as would come up on a list when you Googled it. Alright, first one is Charles Bingley. Okay, Charles Bingley is a Hufflepuff. Yes, he's such a Hufflepuff. I had to write down the attributes to each of these houses because I so often generalize in my mind that like Gryffindors are brave and Slytherins are ambitious and all these things that aren't necessarily as true to the house as they seem. So I have for Hufflepuff hard work, loyalty, patience, and integrity. And I totally see all of those in Charles Bingley. He is kind, that is his main attribute, and that's just something I see Hufflepuffs being. When you look at them, you think, oh, that person's nice. And that's just such a thing you think of when you think of Charles Bingley. And yes, I'm totally behind it. Alright, next one. Can't believe she's the second one. Next one is Elizabeth Bennet, who is probably one of my most favorite characters in all of literature. I love her. I think that she's probably the character I can relate to most easily. Elizabeth is such a good protagonist because she's a flawed character, but you can also see her side of things really easily and understand why she does what she does. And I love her spunk and how she has like this enviable politeness, but she also stands up for herself. She's not afraid to go for what she wants. And and for all these reasons, she also has kind of she has a little bit of arrogance about her and kind of stubbornness, and that's why she's a Gryffindor. She's such a Gryffindor. I would love to hear y'all's input in the comment section, but I just see Elizabeth as Gryffindor as a Gryffindor could be. Okay. Next one. I don't know why I'm closing my eyes. Katniss Everdeen. No, that's actually George Wickham. And George Wickham, I really see him as a Slytherin because George Wickham he's like, while outwardly he seems very Gryffindor-esque, he is at the same time, the way he gets what he wants, rather than being very upfront and just taking it. He is very cunning and just very smart in how he gets what he wants, which would ultimately be money. And that's why I think he's a Slytherin, not just because he's the bad guy. But he's also very charming, which is also a very Slytherin thing. Being charming, being a good leader, getting people to follow you. I just see all of those things as very Slytherin-esque. Oh, goodness gracious. There's like paper on this. Okay. Next one. Charlotte Lucas, who has to be one of my favorite characters in this. I mean, I kind of love almost all the characters in this novel, but Charlotte Lucas she was already amazing when I read the book, and then the movie, she was even better. And then when I watched Lizzie Bennet Diaries, I'm like, she is the most amazing person. So I think Charlotte is definitely a Ravenclaw. There were multiple characters on this list who they remind me of Amy from Little Women. Who is just very pragmatic and just, well, they make their decisions based on what they know rather than what they feel. They're very head guided, and they're also just, that's how they approach their decisions. And I think that's why I would say Charlotte is a Ravenclaw, just because what she seems to value most is her knowledge about life and that's how she is guided, rather than what she actually wants or how she feels. So that's why I would say Charlotte is a Ravenclaw. And she's also just a very smart character. I'm kind of getting that from Lizzie Bennet Diaries. But man, that girl is just so much fun to read about. Alright, next one. Lydia! Okay, Lydia is one of those characters that I hated when I read the book. She was just... As a person with little sisters, I'm not saying that my little sisters are like Lydia, but they kind of are a little bit. Just Lydia, she's just that classic younger sister that you're like, man, she's so annoying. But Lizzie Bennet Diaries really put a new side to Lydia, and just gave you more to think about. And I kind of think she's a Hufflepuff, because what she seems to value the most are other people and what they think about her, how they feel, just all these things. That's how she gets what she wants. She sucks up to people, she flirts, all these things. And for that reason, I think she's a Hufflepuff, just because of how people-oriented she is. And kind of how lovable, I'm getting that, well, Lizzie Bennet Diaries, but she's just so, like, she's got that very cute naiveness about her. And that's why I think she's a Hufflepuff. Right, next one. We're just hitting the main characters really early on, aren't we, random picking ceramic mug? Mr. Fitzwilliam Darcy. Can we just appreciate the fact that his first name is Fitzwilliam? Like, imagine marrying a guy named Fitzwilliam. We'd be like, hey, Fitzwilliam, come over here. Hi. Mr. Darcy ran away. Mr. Darcy. Where did he go? So, seeing as Darcy has run away to the deepest depths of the paper rack, I made a substitute, which is a very unattractive post-it note with the name Darcy scrawled across it. So yeah, I've given Darcy a lot of thought because he's hard. I initially thought he was a Ravenclaw just because he behaves like a lot of the Ravenclaws we meet, but then he's hard. He's the hardest. Like, Elizabeth isn't that hard because just her actions really show her as a Gryffindor, but Darcy is a lot more subtle. But I would also say that he's just very forthcoming with how he feels eventually. I don't know. Okay, so I put him initially as a Ravenclaw, then I put him as a Gryffindor because he is arrogant and just the words chivalry, determination, and courage they all really make me think of him as a Gryffindor. But he's actually not a Slytherin. I can decide that now. I'm going to put him as a Gryffindor because he can't be a Slytherin just because he doesn't really act like so many Slytherins we meet. He's not extremely ambitious. He more cares about what he currently has and uses that to help people. And I just think that's more of a Gryffindor than anything else. But man, he was a hard character to sort. I would not want to be the sorting hat. This is so hard. Okay, next one. Caroline Bingley. I feel really badly because I really don't dislike like Slytherins in general. But a lot of Slytherin traits can be found in a lot of classic villains, including the ones in Pride and Prejudice. But there are a few good characters in Slytherin in this novel as well. But Caroline is a Slytherin. She is very, she's not as subtle as she wants to be, but she wants to be subtle about getting Mr. Darcy's attention. She doesn't want her brother to know that she's tearing him away from Jane. Just all these things. She kind of she knows what she wants. She goes and gets what she wants, but it's in a very cunning and deceitful way a lot of the time. I could tell which one this was because it's the longest one. Lady Catherine de Bourgh. De Bourgh, right? Yeah. Lady Catherine de Bourgh. She, I believe, is a Ravenclaw. Because Lady Catherine de Bourgh is just... her main trait in the books is just going on and on and on about all the things she knows. She values knowledge, she values wisdom, or as she sees it, she's, I believe, another trait of Ravenclaws are that they are witty, and she's just a very social creature. And she just seems more Ravenclaw by the second. Next one. This one is Jane, who is, okay. She's just my favorite person in the book. Not my favorite character necessarily, but as a person, she's I know people like Jane and they make the world so much better. And she's so happy and she's so kind to other people. And when you think of Jane, you think, oh, she's kind. She's a kind person. And she, of course, belongs with her man, Charles Bingley, in Hufflepuff. Because she's just the Hufflepuff of all Hufflepuffs. She's kind, she's helpful, she's loyal. She doesn't, I love Jane. I love all the Janes in my life. I love all the Hufflepuffs. They just make the world better. Oh goodness. There we go. Jane's a Hufflepuff. Alrighty. Kitty Bennet. Okay, so the Bennet sisters are hard because, what I said for Kitty is that she's a Slytherin because her main trait is that she's a follower, and that just really reminded me of a Death Eater and how Slytherins really thrive off of being strong leaders or strong followers. And since we don't get much of Kitty, I just really see her as a Slytherin. Alright, Kitty is a Slytherin. Alright. Darcy looks so bad on Gryffindor. I'm so sad that I lost his special little name card. This one. Ooh, Mr. Bennet. He's another one of my favorite characters. And simply because I initially was so not sure about Mr. Bennet, but I eventually decided that he is a Gryffindor just because I think he's a Gryffindor because he reminds me of Sirius Black. Just how he just lets life go, and he's just very calm and sure of himself and sure of the situation. You'd barely ever see him stressed except with the whole Lydia ordeal at the very end. And I see him as very much a Gryffindor. And he also values selflessness a lot. Alright, next one. Mary Bennett. Okay, so Mary's a little bit, oh, never mind. Mary's not terribly hard. Because even though she values knowing things and being the best at things and being wise and knowing a lot about the Bible, a lot about morality and all those things, and even though a lot of that crashes down on her, she's still, that's the thing she loves the most, the thing she values the most. And honestly, I feel badly for Mary because I know Jane Austen put Mary in as kind of a laugh in her book, but I can feel a little bit of empathy for Mary. Next one. Mr. William Collins. Okay. Mr. Collins is a Ravenclaw, but first, can I just say how I have a love-hate relationship with this character because, yes, he's super annoying at times. And then I watched the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, common theme. If you have not seen that, he dropped, there he is. All right, if you have not seen that web series put on by Hank Green, it's so good. Watch it. If you like Pride and Prejudice at all, watch that web series. It's so good. Okay, so Mr. William Collins is a Ravenclaw because, again, he values his knowledge about things more than anything else. Oh, but he's also a follower. He's a follower of Lady Catherine de Bourgh. But I still think he's a Ravenclaw because he still values, like, his knowledge about things and how society works and what he's meant to do. Oh, but that's a Slytherin thing. Like, I'm gonna put him as Ravenclaw right now, but who knows? I might switch him because none of these are set in stone. My mind can change. Oh, I have to pick two. Sure. I picked two again. Fitzwilliam. He was not on the list I printed out, and I had to write him in. And I just don't understand why they wouldn't put Fitzwilliam in. He's like a wonderful breath of fresh air. I believe I'm going to put Fitzwilliam in Ravenclaw because he values his knowledge about society over like how he feels. And I decided to sort a lot of those characters into Ravenclaw, though they could belong in Slytherin. But I think Ravenclaw is a pretty good place to put characters who seem to thrive off of like societal boundaries and stuff. Alright, so the next character who's in the jar is Mr. Gardner. Okay, I see Mr. Gardner, who is Elizabeth's uncle, as a Gryffindor because of how selfless he is in the whole Lydia situation. He leaves work and he goes to find her and he gets exhausted for his niece who has done something really stupid. So, Mr. Gardner, I see as a Gryffindor. Next one. Seriously having trouble. Okay, Mrs. Bennet. Mrs. Bennet is a Slytherin. Goodness gracious, this woman, her ambition is to get her daughters married. She plans to achieve this by sending her daughter out into the rain on horseback so that she'll get sick and have to stay at Bingley's house. So yeah, she's a Slytherin. The woman is conniving. Though she is somewhat obvious about her ambitions. But she doesn't mean to be. She's actually trying to be cunning. Right. Next one is Georgiana Darcy. Woo! Okay, this character is one that changes depending on the version you watch. In the book, she's very shy, she's very subtle. She has a lot of pain that's happened to her in her past with growing up essentially without her father, and then Wickham just completely humiliating her and using her. And Georgiana, she loves her brother so much. She's loyal, she's kind, in whatever version you look at. In some she's perky, in some she's very shy, but just across the board I would say she's a Hufflepuff, just because how absolutely loyal she is to Darcy, and how kind she is to Elizabeth, how open she is to meeting new people. I would definitely put Georgiana in Hufflepuff. Alright, last one. The last one is Mrs. Gardner, who is Elizabeth's aunt. And she is a character in the book that I would put in Gryffindor, kind of because she's more bold than I would think most Hufflepuffs would be. But she very much reminds me of like a Molly Weasley character who is a Gryffindor. And that is definitely, that's where I'd put her. She could also be a Hufflepuff, but I think she shows quite a bit of Gryffindor. And that was the last one. Man, that was exciting. I'm so happy to have these guys sorted because it's definitely something I was thinking about throughout reading with a lot of the main characters, and it was so exciting to do it, especially in such an early time. It was something I just really wanted to get out there. And with that, I'm going to sign off now. It was so great doing this, and I hope you guys have an amazing week. Until tomorrow, Michelle.